Lili, I know you've been covering those protests. How would you describe the mood there?
I would say that the mood right now is shifting. We're seeing more and more young people come out to the streets here in Budapest, something that we haven't really seen in Hungary for a very long time. People in their teens, high schoolers, university students, some of them protesting for the very first time, calling for more democracy and accountability in Hungary.
Is that reflective more generally of the political mood in the country, do you think?
I think it really depends on where we're talking about. I think here in Budapest, in the city, a lot of the population is really frustrated with the government and what a lot of people see as Prime Minister Orban's increasingly authoritarian tendencies. I think the situation is a bit different in the countryside. People have a bit less access to independent news. They really rely on television, and TV stations tend to be controlled by the government or oligarchs close to the government. So they simply do not have as much information as individuals, especially young people in the big city.
So I know that part of the focus obviously has been the whole issue around the Central European University, but when you talk about frustration, what's their focus? What's their concern?
So when I go to observe some of these protests, usually the slogans revolve around democracy, checks and balances, and calling for less Russian influence in Hungary. Prime Minister Orban has a close relationship with the Kremlin, and a lot of people are calling for a better relationship with the European Union and the United States. They're scared that Russian influence is detrimental to the future of Hungary, especially when it comes to corruption.
What about the whole issue of refugees and migration? Because obviously Orban took a real stand, putting up the fences, putting people into segregation.
That's right. So the refugee issue has really been Orban's the centerpiece of Orban's policy, especially with elections coming up in 2018. So what Orban and his Fidesz party have tried to do is to create an atmosphere of fear here in Hungary, to show people that only the Orban government can protect them from nefarious influences, nefarious forces that are trying to bring in what they call hordes of migrants to the country. So they've really tried to highlight the refugee issue to make people scared of outsiders, in order to promote their own political platform.
But obviously Orban has supporters. Who are they?
His supporters really range. There are some older supporters, some younger supporters who see Fidesz as a way of climbing up, of getting great jobs. A lot of jobs, both in the public and the private sector, depend on what kind of relationship people have with the ruling Fidesz party. There are some supporters who are more nationalistic, and see Orban as the protector of Hungarian interests, and he has really done a lot to promote that image.
Apart from these political protests that we've talked about, where do you see the political opposition? And is it any threat to Orban?
Right now, the opposition is incredibly fragmented. There are a lot of tiny political parties that, in a way, are also competing with each other for votes. They keep talking about getting together and creating a united platform, but that has proven very difficult to do. What we have seen in a new poll that has just come out is that Orban's popularity has declined by 9 percentage points between January and April. And a part of that may be because of recent concerns and controversies like a bill on NGOs, like the Central European University controversy. So it does seem like the protests are having at least a small impact, but it's too early to tell if the opposition will really be able to unite against Orban. And we do have to keep in mind that the second largest political party in the country right now is the far-right party Jobbik.
And their stand on many of these issues would be similar to Orban's?
They have tried to differentiate themselves over the past months, trying to even move toward the center as Orban has been moving more and more to the right. But they have struggled, especially in issues like refugees, which in the past have been their centerpiece. They in the past ran on issues of xenophobia, or what some critics would call xenophobia. Now they have to compete with the ruling Fidesz party. So we have essentially two right-wing parties competing with each other, Orban's Fidesz and the far-right Jobbik, and then a collection of smaller opposition left-wing and liberal parties.
Lili, thank you very much for your insight into all of this.
Thank you for having me.